What makes a story worth telling? A lot of writers find themselves asking this question, but never get a definitive answer. Some storytellers wing it as they go and hope for the best. Others take a rigid, thought-out approach and focus their stories on trending genres and subjects. I've done some research, and I've narrowed down 5 key things that will help you craft a story worthy of the spotlight. Number 1. Fall in love with your story. If you're going to go through the process of telling a good story, falling in love with that story is imperative. Your time is a precious thing. Never waste it. Put simply, a story you don't love is a story you should move on from. Sadly, too often, storytellers don't recognize when it's time to move on. Sometimes a writer will start out loving a story, but quickly lose interest when they recognize a fatal flaw or a weak plot point. Don't ever be afraid to set aside a story you don't love. You're not giving up if you do. The lessons we learn from failed stories help inform the next story, and the next, and they help us grow as storytellers. There's another reason to fall in love with your story. Developing a good story can take months, sometimes years. George Lucas famously began work on Star Wars in 1971. By 1973, he was waist deep in the scripting phase, and it would be 3 more years until the 4th and final draft of A New Hope was complete. Star Wars is one of the biggest franchises in movie history. Without George Lucas falling in love with the galaxy far, far away, none of us would have ever had the chance to. Number 2. Create characters the audience can invest in. Have you ever wondered what makes fandom? Congoers don't travel to comic conventions for the world building and lore. They go there for the characters. The reason Batman, Superman, Captain America, and so many timeless characters endure is because they're characters that we can invest in. Audiences care about well-crafted characters. It's why shippings exist. It's why Sonic the Hedgehog owns DeviantArt. When audiences love a character, they'll love your story as a byproduct. Disney, in particular, gets this better than anyone else. The Disney library is comprised almost entirely of characters. And ironically, it's one reason why the Tron and National Treasure franchises lie dormant. The 4 movies across both franchises are great feature films, but it's impossible to claim that Sam Flynn or Ben Gates are as endearing as Winnie the Pooh or Princess Anna. In fact, it's a safe bet that casual fans don't remember those characters as much as they do the actors. Antagonists can be investment characters too. In Star Wars, the audience is thoroughly invested in Darth Vader's menacing presence. And in The Hunger Games, Snow and Coin become increasingly invested in Katniss herself, which ties her fate to their fate. A circle forms, and our investment in the hero becomes our through line to care about the antagonist. Number 3. Make your story interesting. A boring story will fail to engage the audience. Any emotional impact in your character arcs will fall flat if the story isn't interest-catching. One reason Disney's John Carter has failed to hold up over time is that the story lacks an interesting hook. Think about it for a moment. What about John Carter was interest-catching? Certainly not the name. Definitely not the characters. Do most people even remember what that movie was about? Not even the Disney brand could save that film. This is not a knock against the filmmakers. In every interview you watch or read, they were passionate about this story. But no amount of passion could make up for the story's natural shortcomings. John Carter didn't have a built-in hook like National Treasure, Transformers, Jurassic Park, or Indiana Jones. And because of that, it just wasn't interesting. Understanding ahead of time whether or not your story is interesting is key to translating your love and passion into a story that captures the imagination of your audience. Number 4. Be mindful of your story's morals. Humans are emotional. We react strongly to stories because they move our feelings. When we see Katniss in the arena, we want to see her make it out alive. When Luke Skywalker duels Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, we're rooting for him to win. Katniss and Luke are the heroes of their stories. We root for them because they're the good guys. Good guys are traditionally on the side of moral good. We don't question their actions because we know their actions to be sound, just, and the right thing to do. But not all stories are so cut and dry. Marvel's The Punisher is about a vigilante who works outside the law, murdering those who harm others and bringing his own sense of justice to the world. Marvel expects us to root for Frank Castle. But in any other story, the Punisher is the villain. He's a murderer! Murderers are bad people, right? Morality gets even hairier in storytelling when political subjects are involved. When American Sniper came out in 2014, general audiences were split along ideological lines, with conservatives largely praising the film and progressives largely condemning it. That's not to say it's impossible to tackle touchy subjects, but to do so successfully, it pays to be mindful during the creation process. Number 5. There are no rules. There are no rules in storytelling. There are guidelines, like the ones I've presented in this video, but there are no hard and fast rules. Anyone who says otherwise is selling you snake oil. Sometimes a story is so unique that it doesn't fit traditional storytelling boxes. Documentary films often break the mold. 2013's The Immortal Augustus Gladstone fits inside no neat boxes, being neither fully fiction or fully nonfiction. As a result, Augustus' story is elevated in a raw and deeply personal way. We, the audience, get to know Augustus intimately, and we find ourselves heavily invested in what happens to him. Author Douglas Copeland once said, "Storytelling is ultimately a creative act of pattern recognition. Through characters, plot, and setting, a writer creates places where previously invisible truths become visible. What matters to the storyteller is that the invisible is made visible. If arbitrary rules must be broken to effectively tell your story, then do it. Who am I to say otherwise?" Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan to produce regular content here on Storybake, and to reward my early subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway. Arrival was one of my favorite films of 2016. The script, the acting and directing, all beautiful and thought-provoking. I'm going to give away one HD digital copy of Arrival to one lucky viewer. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of this video. Did you agree with my 5 points? Did you disagree? Let me know, and you'll be entered to win. I'll be selecting a winner next week, so be sure to share this video with your friends. And if you liked this video, please hit that like button. Thanks again. See y'all next time.